what's happening. So you want to build wealth, you want to build significant wealth, but you're asking questions to yourself like, where do I start? How do I begin? I don't know what to do. So do these three things first in order to build wealth and make $1,000,000. The first one is you have to start with why. Why do you want to do it? What is it that you want to do, but why do you want to do it more than anything else? You have to define why, or else you're not going to be able to achieve that goal of building wealth and making that $1,000,000. The second thing you need to do is you have to build a budget, a monthly budget, write it out. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on that and what that entails. And then that leads to the third step. You have to save at least $100 a month, preferably more, and then be able to invest that into mutual funds and index funds and possibly some other investments such as real estate. But for the purposes of this video, the first three steps, I want to talk about investing primarily in index funds. So the first thing, define your why. Why do you want to build wealth? What are you going to accomplish with it? If you don't define your why, what defines you? What's inside of you? If you don't define that, you're more likely to give up on reaching that goal, on working hard. You're not going to be as effective. You're not going to be as efficient. My why I want to build wealth, why I want to make that $1,000,000 and be able to have some significant wealth is to provide more time for me to spend with my family, to travel, to learn, to grow professionally, mentally, and also to be able to enjoy time with family and to give back to charity, to volunteer, and to give away things. So that's my why, but you have to define that why for you. What does that mean for you? Or else you're not going to be able to build wealth and eventually make that $1,000,000. Second thing you need to do is build a budget, write it out, a monthly budget. What are your expenses? And the idea here is you have to have more money coming in than going out. If you don't, you're never going to get ahead. So you have to build a budget and write it out, your monthly expenses. How much money do you make? And if you make $1,000 a month, you have to spend less than that. And the idea here is that your budget has to allow you enough money to save, to invest. That leads me to the third thing you need to do. So in order to make $1,000,000, in order to build significant wealth, do these three things first. So that third thing is you have to invest. I'm going to recommend as a simple first step, you have to invest and set aside at least $100 a month. Now, if you do that, you can do more than that. But if you built $100 a month, some kind of savings, if you did that and you invested into index funds and mutual funds, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about the specific funds that I recommend, some of the funds that I recommend, and some things you can invest in. And really, there's two things here that you could look at investing, setting aside that $100 a month. I'm going to talk about index funds because that's more simple and straightforward. And it's super easy to set up an account. And we're only talking $100 a month. If you did that over 40 years' time, sounds like a long time. So this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme, but this is a get-rich-for-sure scheme. Or it's just a get-rich-for-sure plan. If you invested $100 a month into index funds, and again, I'm going to tell you which ones you can invest in and give some recommendations to you. You could set up an account on Vanguard, set up an account through Fidelity, through Schwab. There's a number of free accounts, and then I'm going to recommend the Roth IRA. If you did $100 a month and you go into the right funds and you invest into the right index funds and mutual funds, I'm not talking stocks here. I'm talking index funds, a basket of funds, and I'll go into greater detail in the next video. If you did that over 40 years, $100 a month, okay, so you have to have the budget to be able to do that. That will turn into $1,000,000, over $1,000,000, if that's growing at a rate of approximately 10% per year. And I'm going to show you the funds that you can invest in. So to recap, what have we talked about? In order to make $1,000,000, do these three things first. What do you need to do? Define your why. Why do you want it? What are you doing it for? Who are you doing it for? If you don't define that why, if that's not in you, you're not going to be able to take those first steps and really be able to be efficient and carry out your goal, your long-term goal of building wealth and making that $1,000,000. The second thing you need to do, build a budget, write a budget, a written budget. And I'll talk about some tools in that in another video as well. If you don't have a budget, you're not going to be able to set aside at least $100 a month. That will lead to step 3, which is investing. And you need to invest. I'm recommending the first simple step is investing in index funds, mutual funds, with a company such as Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab, several companies, and I'll go into greater detail in that video. Those are the 3 things you need to do, the first 3 things you need to do to make $1 million. See you next time. Be peaceful, be positive.